Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. A good morning. Okay, we discuss the types of project based on size, time, and complexity. The complexity is the level of difficulty to solve a problem, and we have when we do anything first time, it is highly complex for us. For example, when we start programming, especially in hard coded languages like Java, if you are using Notepad or WordPad editor, then it's very difficult to code and it's very hectic exercise and you do a lot of mistakes, a lot of bugs in your program. Similarly, when you start driving and you are using especially manual car, it's highly difficult because I remember my experience when I started driving car. When I saw down towards the clutch, brake, and race, three pedals are there. I cannot see at the front. If I look at the front, I don't know where to press the clutch or brake or the race. So it was very difficult for me at the beginning, challenging. So anything when you don't know, it is complex. When you do practice, like practice makes a man perfect, it becomes easy for you. So similarly, for the projects, when software company started a new project, new domain, new area in which they don't have experience, it is highly complex for that company. Like for example, NetSol company is one of the top companies, software companies in Pakistan. They got their first project for BMW Germany. So it was highly complex for them, highly challenging for them because you don't know what is the logic of the code, how many bugs or what kind of bugs will come, and you will be able to successfully complete the project within budget, within schedule or not. And you don't have any previous code. So that is highly complex example of highly complex project. And then they got next project for Mercedes-Benz. So BMW Germany was the first major project of NetSol company. And then they got project from Mercedes-Benz. Now they have some previous code and there were some new requirements by Mercedes-Benz. Then it switched, transformed from highly complex to average or medium complexity because you have some new code, you don't know about that code, about those requirements, how to code them, what will be the logic, what kind of bugs, how much time you need to fix them. So project transforms from high complexity to average or medium complexity. Then Nissan company, Yamaha motorbike, they all asked the NetSol company to develop leasing software, taxi software for them. And then BMW Germany, then BMW UK, USA, Australia, Taiwan, Korea, India. So they have then Mercedes-Benz again for different countries, Nissan company, Yamaha motorbike. Now they have from 1996 they first time developed it. Up to 2021 they have 70 plus versions of the same software. So they have previous versions. Any new project when comes for the leasing software, they just check which of the version is close to the current requirements and little customization, the software is ready. So it transforms from average complexity or medium complexity to simple or low complexity. Like driving, after a certain experience of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it becomes average and then it transforms from average to simple or low complexity. Then it's automatically embedded in your brain. Turn, clutch, brake, race combination is automatic. You don't need to think about it. Now you need to press the clutch or brake or race. Even you receive a call, you can drive very easily, and when you reach home, you say, "Oh, I'm at my home." So all the way you drive by it was automated, like autopilot. So that is the types of project from high complexity to average and average to simple complexity. What is the other name of project identification phase? It is called problem definition. Like for your 498, 499 capstone project, you have problem definition. So how to define problem definition? So what we will cover in problem definition, finding the differences between the current system and the proposed new or expected system. Finding the difference, you have to identify the differences, that what is the current situation and what will be the new situation, how much there is difference in between them. That is called the problem definition, that what is the problem exists in the current situation. For example, any system like ATM system or registration system, or for example, I just face a problem, ask technical guy for a company who used to have, they have product for electric fencing to protect your home from thieves or robbers. So there is a wires are there which have electric current, and they have a system they have to install, and you can use mobile phone. Now they have control to on the alarm system, off the alarm system, on the current, switch off the current. Now it needs a Wi-Fi signal or internet signal, Wi-Fi signal or internet signal. So then you can use the mobile application of that system. Now if there is no internet, then you cannot access the system using the mobile. So that is the problem. Now this is the current situation, and what is the new situation, that without Wi-Fi signal, without internet, you can still switch on or switch off the alarm system. Another example, for example, I have a camera in my house, and you have mobile application, so you can watch the different cameras, screenshots, what's going on, but you cannot move the camera's positions using the mobile. So there should be, this is the difference, that the new system can help me, that I can change the position of camera using the mobile application. So these two examples I gave you, that there is current situation, current system, and the new system, that it will make a difference in addition or additional functionality or extra functionality to facilitate the user. That is the problem definition for your 498, 499 project. There are so many systems, and the committee or your supervisor will ask you, what is your problem definition? How you are able to write the problem that is significant to complete your capstone or degree project. So you have to make clear differences in the current systems and what your systems will do. So that's the problem definition. Then what are the activities of project identification and selection? There are three main activities. Yes, doesn't matter, because for example, when you introduce some product in the market, it should have a difference. The previous systems running, it should have some extra functionality that other vendor is not offering, and that is facilitating and helping the customer or the user. Add-on, like we have additions like add-ons, like for the browser. So you have some software that increase the functionalities of the browser, like Flash Player. So it increase the functionality of the browser. Similarly, there is existing system running, existing situation, and there should be a new situation which is better than the previous situation, which is increasing some of the problems of the existing system. So you have to define the problem, that current system has these problems, and the new system will solve these problems. Then you have project identification and selection activities. So you have to identify potential projects in the company. Then you have to classify and rank them. And then you have to select the most suitable project for the company. So from a customer point of view, each customer has different potential projects. For example, in one of my previous lectures, I gave example of FCIT or King Abdulaziz University. We need several systems. We need automatic timetable scheduling system. Like the university from where I did my master, Staffordshire University, UK, they have expert system which is which automatically schedule the timetable for the next semester using Prolog, Visual Prolog, which is a artificial intelligence programming language. So you just enter the number of students, number of instructors, number of classrooms. It automatically generate clash-free, conflict-free timetable for the next semester. Even next to next semester, you can see classrooms, instructor name is there. That in next semester, which course will be taught by which instructor, who will be the instructor for that course. Next to next semester, who will be the instructor. So it's automatically generate a clash-free or conflict-free timetable. Then King Abdulaziz University needs examination system, exam pool. In every semester, I have to prepare mid 1, mid 2, and final exam manually. Even all instructors do the same thing. So we need some examination system where we have pool of questions, and even instructor doesn't know which questions are coming in the exam, and there should be exam admin who can generate exam paper for each course, mid 1, mid 2, final. So it randomly generates the paper. Even for each student, we can have different paper. So the Staffordshire University, they have exam bank system also. Like the automatic timetable scheduling system, they have exam admin. He generates paper from exam pool. Exam bank is there. Like blood bank, they have exam bank. And even instructor doesn't know which questions are coming in the exam paper for the mid or 1 or 2 or final. So that system, such system we need. So we wasted a lot of time to prepare questions for the mid 1, mid 2, final. And some exams are easy, some exams are average, some exams are highly difficult, highly complex. Whereas in the exam bank system, what I saw, they have questions simple complexity, average complexity, high complexity. So you provide the complexity level of each question when you enter the question in the exam bank, the instructor. So it automatically pick some questions from simple complexity, low complexity, some questions from average complexity, some questions from high complexity. So a very well balanced exam paper generated, which has some easy question, sahal, some average question, and some difficult questions. And we also need a system, exam evaluation system, exam marking system. We manually mark the papers. If, for example, strength is more like 50 or 40 for each section, then it's very difficult to mark exam papers during the mid 1 because lectures are also in progress. So it's highly difficult. You need to, sometime I need to spend nights when I have 6 sections or 8 sections. Like weekend, I mark whole night. So because there is a deadline to submit the grades. So we need exam evaluation system, and it should be online. No need of manual exam papers. That system automatically evaluate the subjective answers, because objective systems are available. Like King Abdulaziz University has a question system. We have Blackboard. We can take exams through Blackboard, but they are objective. For subjective, we don't have any system. So I gave you attendance system, 3 examples. We still take manual attendance in the classroom. There should be some system like RFID or biometric devices. For example, by using mobile application, as student enter in the classroom, his attendance should be taken by using his mobile number or some or card. Using the card, attendance can be taken automatically in one shot, like RFID or biometric devices should be there. So we need 4-5 systems. So that is potential projects. So each company has some potential projects, and then you have to classify them, that which project you want, and you rank them, that this is number one, number two, number three, number four, based on the importance or based on the need of customer. So that is about the potential projects. Then who will identify stakeholders? For example, top management, any committee whose job is to identify the projects. Like I remember the case of Henry Ford. Henry Ford is the first businessman who introduced the concept of 8 hours working per day, 40 hours per week, and there should be a holiday on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. So you have to work 5 days and 2 days off. And he first time introduced the concept of a conveyor belt, where there is a assembly line and labor just assembling the parts, and then you can increase the production efficiency, performance, productivity. So one of the guys from some press, from media person, asked him, you are very successful businessman for the car manufacturing companies, one of the successful person, you pay, which of the employee you pay the most? So then he say, come with me, I will show you. He went to one office. There was one guy sleeping position, and he was smoking and taking rest. And then Henry Ford knocked his door, and he said, Henry, do you need anything? Everything is okay. Then he closed the door. He said, I pay this guy the most. The media person surprised, because he was not working anything. He was just sitting in his office. He said, this is the guy. Creative ideas are coming from this guy. He is the innovator. I gave him salary, the most highest paid salary in my company, because he brings new ideas to me, and I implement those ideas to have more successful business, so more profit in my company. So this is something you need some committee, some people whose job is to identify potential projects in the company, like Henry Ford, the Ford company, whose Ford cars are very popular in America and all over the world. Any employee, for example, like Henry Ford employee whose job was to introduce new ideas in the company. Development team or IT manager, customer. So anybody can introduce new projects, identify new projects for the for the customer. Then what's the criteria for classification? We classify, like rank them based on what criteria? Budget is the most important criteria, follows cost. Then what is the cost of project? So budget is the most important criteria, the cost of the project. It's 1 million, 1 billion, or what? Like ERP system, cost is in Saudi Arabia, the complete package is 2 billion real. In America, like $50,000, $60,000 is the cost of ERP system, like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics. Schedule, time. How much time? Yes, resources. How much time you need to implement the system? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years. Like ERP system, I gave example, MIT took 13 years to implement SAP and to integrate the existing systems with the SAP. So it's a long-term project, and like I gave example of great project of Descon Infosys for American company. It's a property state business. From 2007, this project was started, and till 2021, it's ongoing. It's evolutionary. They keep on adding new modules into the ERP system, customized ERP. So schedule is very important. How much time you take? So that's another criteria. Resources. is third criteria, that do you have the resources to implement the system in terms of internal infrastructure, in terms of servers, computers, routers, switches, hubs, environment, what kind of environment you have. So you need resources to implement the system, and then you need resources in terms of maintenance. For example, budget. You have two type of budget. One is called one time cost, other is recurring cost. Recurring cost is the maintenance cost, so that is also included. You need to consider that. Like SAP ERP system cost is, I told you, one module cost is 9 million real, and for complete package 2 billion real, and it's for 1 year. Then there is a licensing cost, you have to renew every year, 60 million real. So you have to consider that you have such cost, you have such budget to run such systems. So resources is also important. You have technology. Technology is another criteria. For example, sometime you need such devices like automation of factory. You need equipments. You need to import them from America, France, Germany, China. So do you have the technology available in the market, or you need to import? Then you need to consider the taxes, that what are the taxes you need to pay to import that technology from Germany or France or USA or China to bring to Saudi Arabia or to any other country. So you have to consider that. Then technology in terms of development. For example, customer needs Ruby. Ruby programmers are very rare. Python programmers are very rare. Very few programmers are available for Python implementation. So in terms of server, in terms of technology, in terms of equipment like biometric devices, RFID devices, barcode readers, automation of the plant. So you need to consider all such factors with respect to technology. The technical expertise are available or not in your company or and the software company side. For example, I remember the case of Descon Infosys again. The customer, when at the project was started, software company Descon was using C# as a front end, and the back end was Microsoft SQL Server, the best combination, both products from front and back end from the Microsoft, best compatibility. Then after few months, customer introduced new requirement that we want business logic in Java Versata. Then Descon Infosys even doesn't have Java programmer, not even single Java programmer. They have all .NET programmers, and the database designers were Microsoft SQL expertise, having Microsoft SQL expertise, SQL expertise. Then they have to check in the market. In Pakistan, no company knows about Java Versata. And then I was doing PhD at that time. Then the project manager, his name was Howard, he called me and he said, you are in contact of different software companies. Maybe you know any company is implementing the Java Versata. I first time heard that word. Then I checked by students in different companies. Then I responded to Mr. Khawar, the project manager, sorry, no software company in Pakistan in our locality are using Java Versata. Then Descon had to outsource from USA, one of the USA company. So outsourcing, but they did not show to the customer. Meanwhile, they hire Java developers and they start training for Java Versata. And at a certain stage, they took over from the outsourcing company to in-house, but it took time. So that technology factor is very important. You need to consider that. Ease of implementation is another important criteria, that you have one location of the customer or you have multiple locations. Like if it is one location, it's very easy to implement. But if you have distributed locations or multiple branches are there, multiple cities are there, or multiple internationally you have to implement, like NetSol company has to implement leasing software. It's called LeaseSoft in Germany, UK, USA, Australia, Taiwan, Korea, India for BMW, then for Mercedes. It's hard to implement at different locations, distributed locations. Then you have to consider the servers in terms of database servers, front end servers, business logic servers, and then you need to train the employees. So it's hard to implement. So you have to consider the implementation factor as well. Then it will add value to the company or not. So customer has to check whether after implementing this project, it will add value to the company, it will increase the business of the company, increase the productivity of the company, efficiency, performance, quality. You have to consider. Like I will give you an example. Add value in terms of customer satisfaction. Customer will be satisfied, customer will be happy or not. There is a company, General Electric. You all know about General Electric. General Electric company, one of the products is they are very popular in electrical devices. They have a product, it's called diesel engine to generate electricity and for automation or for factory operations. They have an engineer, his name was David I. Smith, and David I. Smith was working with General Electric company from 40 years, and he had to travel to different states of USA, the 50 states, and sometime the customers had to wait for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months that David I. Smith will come to our state and will fix our engine, and they have service centers. So after 40 years of working with General Electric, he was going to retire. He informed the company, the top management, that this is my notice, 3-month notice, that I'm going to leave the company. I'm going to retire. Now General Electric asked him that you will work with us for some more years, but you don't need to travel. He said, I'm tired of traveling. You don't need to travel. You sit in our office and transfer all of your knowledge into an expert system. And the project was called Delta. Project name Delta. David I. Smith transferred all of his knowledge into a system using the artificial intelligence system, expert system. Then this expert system Delta was installed at all service centers in 50 states of USA. Now any technician, any diploma holder can enter the problem into the system, and the system shows all the architecture, all instructions, how to fix it, how to take the safety measures, and you don't damage other parts while fixing one part. And customers were very happy because now their engines are fixed within 1 day or 2 days. They don't need to keep backup engines, 2 engines or 3 engines. So that is customer satisfaction. And David I. Smith's salary was $150,000 per month after 40 years of service, after 40 years of experience. So $150,000 per month multiplied by 12, how much is the amount? Plus traveling expenses. So $150,000 plus traveling expenses, plus hoteling expenses, plus mobile expenses or telephone expenses, plus he has to take cab to go to from hotel to the service center. So that is also extra charges. So daily expenses, traveling expenses, all these expenses plus salary. So if roughly I estimate it is approximately $300,000 per month or $250,000 per month, multiply by 12 months. So it's a huge saving to General Electric. So such project is adding value to the General Electric. So they went for it, and they preserve the knowledge of David I. Smith. They don't need to hire a senior engineer after the David I. Smith. Any young engineer can work with them because all the details, engine details, expertise, the experiences of David I. Smith was preserved in the system. So it's adding value to the organization. So we go for such system like ATM system. Every bank needs ATM. So it is adding value because customer will ask before opening account, do you have ATM service? You have debit card, credit card services. So it's adding value to the bank. So they always, whenever they open branches in any country, they introduce their ATM system there. So it's adding value to the bank. So they go for it because it will bring more customers, more business to the company. ERP systems is another example. They are very expensive, like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. SAP is the most expensive, then Oracle, then Microsoft Dynamics. One module cost is 9 million riyal in Saudi Arabia, and then renew licensing cost every year like 4 to 5 million, then training cost. But still companies are switching from the traditional systems or the legacy systems to they are switching to ERP systems because it automates their business processes and they reduce the manual working. So still from instead of using the traditional system, even though they are very expensive, but still companies are switching from traditional systems to ERP system. It's a highly demanding, and SAP is the most widely practiced ERP system in the world. Still, it's very expensive, the most expensive. So budget, schedule, resources, technology, ease of implementation, add value to the organization. These are common criteria. There could be more than that, but I covered the major criteria for classification, that this is the number 1 project we will start, this is the number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4, this is number 5. Then you will select the most suitable project according to the need of company, which is could be discretionary and could be non-discretionary. Yes, in the last lecture, I forgot one thing. For non-discretionary projects from software company side, maintenance projects are not examples of non-discretionary because you have contract with the customer. So you have to update it, you have to bug fixing, you have to do corrective maintenance, you have to do perfective maintenance, so you have to do preventive maintenance. So that's another example of non-discretionary projects, no choice from software company point of view. What is the second? So we finished first phase, project identification and selection. Second phase of SDLC. Second phase of SDLC is project initiation. Discretionary projects where there is a choice from software company side or customer side. We covered from both. And non-discretionary, there is no choice. You have to do it. For example, when in Saudi Arabia, when government decides to impose taxes, all the companies, commercial companies, Hukuma companies, they have to change their systems and they have to introduce tax calculation in their system. This is non-discretionary. And discretionary, like I gave example of King Abdulaziz University choice, attendance system, scheduling system, examination system, exam evaluation system, they have choice. They want to start or they don't want to start. It's up to them. And from software company side, now the software companies are very smooth in terms of their business flow, in terms of blood circulation, money circulation. They are not in any urgency of money because they have new projects, they have maintenance projects. There is continuous flow of money is there. So any new project which doesn't fall under their domain, they simply excuse it to the customer that this is our list of products. If you want to customize any of them, welcome. Otherwise, thank you very much. We are not interested because they don't want to take risk of taking any new domain, any new area in which they are not working. So this is from software company side, there is a choice. Whereas in non-discretionary, there is no choice from customer side, for example. Like when government gave them deadline, they have to change their systems to introduce VAT, value added tax, into their systems to calculate VAT plus the price of the cost of the product. So there was no choice. Or like company needs some automation, there is no choice for them because there is a demand of the market, demand of the customer. So sometimes customer gave them some challenge to the company that if your services are not improved, we will cancel the contract with you. So the customer has customers. So in order to make them satisfied, in order to make them happy, like they don't have customer relationship management system. So the customers are not happy with the services of the company. So the customer has to introduce a new system, customer relationship management system, to have a link through online system through which they can complain to the company, they can get service from the company. So that is example of non-discretionary, no choice. Similarly, from software company side, when we have maintenance contract with the customer, we cannot excuse him. We cannot say him, refuse him. Sorry, we will not do that because you have contract. So according to Act, you have to do maintenance, whether it's corrective, whether it's perfective, whether it's preventive. So that's non-discretionary. And even the situation of 9/11, when there was a threat of World War, Third World War, there were no projects in the market. So software companies need any project. Whenever, whether it's in their domain, in their area, it falls or not, because they want to have money circulation to pay salary, to pay bill, electricity bill, rent, ijar. So they need some money. So whatever the domain of the project, they just welcome to the customer and they implement it to have blood circulation, money circulation. So that was in that situation, abnormal situation. It's a non-discretionary, no choice for them. They have to accept it because there were no projects in the market. Thank you very much. Love you. Take care. Stay blessed, healthy and happy. Assalamu alaikum.